Deborah, the US Supreme Court has just issued a ruling on patents in relation to business methods. What is a business method?
A business method is just a way of doing business. So, for example, in an old US patent application, someone tried to patent the idea of running a cafeteria instead of a restaurant, so the idea of having self-service, people queuing up and so on. That was not back. So something as simple as that can be a business method. More recently, you get more sophisticated things trying to be patented, for example, financial instruments.
And what did US law say about patenting business methods before this case?
Generally speaking, the courts were fairly sceptical about business methods, and in particular the US Patent Office went through a period of actually granting business methods quite happily, but they've become much more restrictive in recent years because of the more sceptical approach of the court. That said, the Court of Appeals of the Federal Circuit has spent a lot of time developing what they've called the machine or transformation test, and that basically means the business method must either be tied to a machine in some way like a computer, or it needs to physically transform something. So an example which wouldn't be patentable was producing some binary code, and that was because it was just an abstract idea not tied to a computer. But something that did get through was a way of converting raw synthetic rubber into products that was using a mathematical formula that was tied to a computer, so that was okay.
What did the people involved in this case, Bilski, actually invent?
Bilski was trying to protect a way of hedging energy commodity risk. So the idea was that he was going to use a mathematical formula to look at historical weather patterns, for example, and then try to apply an average to those weather patterns so that people would buy and sell commodities, hedging their risk.
So what did the US Supreme Court say in this case?
The court decided that that patent application wasn't a runner, but then they went on and explained a little bit more about business methods and software patentability, and they said that business methods as a whole were potentially patentable, and they left the door open also on software patents.
What impact will this have on the patentability of software?
This means that software patents are much easier now to get through. The US Patent and Trademark Office will no doubt become more permissive, I expect. It's also going to mean that there's going to be more litigation because the court didn't set out a bright line test confining the parameters of patentability. What they did was say, we're in the information age now. There's going to be lots of new things coming along and we simply don't know what's going to be coming in the future, so we're not going to prescribe what is patentable.
What will this ruling mean for business?
If you are wanting to patent, you should be getting on and doing it using a really good US patent attorney. You still need to have a clever patent attorney who will frame your claims well. Also, it means that if you're doing business in the US and you're not patenting, you may well be on the receiving end of viable software patent infringement claims. So, for example, Microsoft are out there asserting patents that read onto the Linux kernel at the moment. That could prove to be very expensive for you as a business just doing regular business using open source software.
And what's your opinion of the ruling? Is this going to be a help to people struggling with these patent issues?
I think that this was both helpful and an unhelpful ruling. It was helpful because it did set out some clear rules, so business methods are potentially patentable, software patents are also generally okay, they haven't closed the door, but what the court hasn't done is actually give us any concrete parameters within which we can work. So this means that there will be a lot more US patent litigation where people are pushing their chances trying to get patents through, which of course is going to generate extra business cost.